Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 15 of Sunday Service with me, your Cardinal, Aaron Chandler. How are we? How are we doing, guys? Well, it's been quite an eventful couple of days there, huh? Few days, yeah. It's been real, huh? Things have happened in the Christian world, Catholic world more specifically. I guess not, you know. I guess like nothing really happened, right? Like Jesus hasn't come back yet. Still waiting. I guess that's a good thing though that he hasn't come back because when he comes back, a lot of bad things come with him. Like we're all waiting for Jesus to come back. It's like, hey, we're all gonna die. So maybe we should not. Maybe we should. Hey, Jesus, chill in heaven for a bit. Actually, I'm okay with that. You know, why are we all getting excited for him to come back? You know what I mean? Because guess what else comes when Jesus comes is the Antichrist. And he sounds not great. So, as far as I'm concerned, Jesus coming back can remain at the end of time where it's supposed to be. So that's interesting, right? But yeah, it's been an interesting couple of days. There was a conclave. There was a conclave in the Catholic world. That's pretty cool. You know, all the priests got together. You know, got a couple of bags of Doritos, a few bottles of Mountain Dew, a couple of Monsters, you know, all sat down. You know, Mommy Teresa made them a bowl of popcorn. They all gathered up, locked themselves into the fucking Sistine Chapel for a couple hours, and they got to work. You know, a conclave does sound very fun. I gotta be honest with you. I was saying this on the last episode. It's like a lot of Catholics have a lot of cool shit. It's just a real shame about the enforced virginity thing. I guess that's good for some people though, because then like it's like at least there's an excuse, right? You know, because I mean, luckily, I don't want to brag, right? But I have had sex before marriage too, so I guess Jesus is just he'll probably just forgive me. That's kind of his nature if I ask him to in a genuine way, and I won't because I don't regret it, because it felt really good, and I know that's not what you're supposed to. How you're supposed to live your life, but I did, and it was amazing, and I didn't get anyone pregnant, which is lucky. I definitely regret it and repent if I got someone pregnant, but I guess you regret and repent anything that you feel bad about because there were consequences. But when there's no consequences to bad actions, you feel zero guilt. If you're an unfeeling sociopath, but that you know, having premarital sex doesn't fall into that category, because you're fulfilling a biological imperative, right? So yeah, there was a bunch of things I said there. I'd love a conclave, man. You know what I mean? I think that is unbelievable. First of all, like, because to be honest, like, the way they describe it makes it sound really boring. Like, because it could be so interesting, right? So the way like it works is basically they all go in and they vote secretly, and then they count the votes, and then if no one wins, they all go and vote secretly again. But in my mind, it should be like they should be having discussions, right? They should all be there, like, you know, gathered around in the living room, you know, sofa, you know, just shooting the shit, light a spliff, that kind of thing, right? You know, for the white smoke, right? Just all chilling around together, and they should just be going like, hey, you know, man, fucking Leonardo DiCaprio over there, not the actor, a different one, a cardinal who happens to be named Leonardo DiCaprio also. Hey, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio over there, he's a good man, you know, he hasn't touched anyone, he hasn't done anything wrong, you know, he's a good representation of the Catholic Church, you know, he has no girlfriend, unlike the actor, all of his girlfriends are of age, except he doesn't have any because he's a good priest. I think he should be the Pope. And then, you know, some other guy is across the room. He's like, I think Riccardo Della Tele should have been the Pope, because what he did was he forgave more sins than anyone else, but not himself directly, but he made God forgive the sins on his behalf. And then someone else is just like, boy, I am a Mexican cardinal, actually, and I think I should be the Pope because, you know, I think it's actually a bit of a piss take that we don't allow ourselves to vote for ourselves because, I mean, at the end of the day, I know that's looked down upon, but what if I really think I am the best option, you know? And I'm not saying this self-centered stuff just because I'm Mexican. I just happen to make the character Mexican because I can't do many other accents. And then in the corner, there's some American guy like, oh, well, hey guys, I think it would be great if we could all be the Pope. How about that? How about, because in America we got democracy, when everyone gets a voice. And I think that would be really good. And then they're all like, it'd be so funny for me, that fucking idiot, the Pope, right? But no, it's just a bunch of like secrecy, and they don't really talk to each other. I guess it's probably for the best that they don't really talk to each other, because I can't imagine how painstakingly boring cardinals are. Because one, they're all old, right? And what is it with, I think I've complained about this before, but what is it with old people and not being able to have a goddamned conversation? You've had your whole life to practice talking, and yet you can't tell when someone's bored of what you're saying. And I know they're probably lonely. Cardinals especially, right? They don't even have a wife or kids that don't talk to them. They have no wife and kids, period. You know what I mean? So I know that but I guess, actually, because they've never had a wife or kids or anyone who's loved them, they should, in theory, be used to it by now. But for some reason, when old people talk, they say the most boring shit ever. They look at you, and then when you weren't listening and you just say, oh yeah, They don't take the hint that you're not interested. They look at you like you're an asshole for not listening, and instead of repeating what they said or maybe making it more engaging, they just move on to the next bullshit they want to talk about, and they hold you verbally hostage for hours and hours on end. So obviously, I bet conversations actually are just allowed, but just they just have nothing to fucking say to each other. Like what do their lives really involve? Like a cardinal isn't a priest, they're not boots on the ground. At least with a priest you get the gossip of confession, like say anyone goes to confession anymore. But therapy is really expensive. Maybe they do. You're just like, because like priests have the gossip. They're just like, hey, this guy's having an affair on his wife. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, I wonder what sex is like. That's kind of where they're coming from, right? But when you get up to bishops and cardinals, it's just like they're just doing a lot of admin stuff, like kind of technical stuff. And again, since Jesus is still MIA, there's not a lot of new things to be doing for Christianity. There's not a lot of development on that front. It's kind of like a lot of it's kind of set in stone. We're just waiting for Judgment Day, for the rapture. So what would they possibly talk about, I guess, and I think they all live in the same house too, which, they're probably sick shit of each other. That actually, now that I've kind of gotten into it, that actually all sounds really horrible. God, old people are so fucking boring. Because in stories, in fictional fairy tales, I've gone over this before, old people are wise and they have lots to say. And when the kids ignore them, the kids are wrong to ignore them because the kids are full of like rebellious kind of, gumption and things, and they think they know about the world, but they don't. But in real life, it's just like they're just wastes of space. They're wastes of space and resources and oxygen. They're just lying around taking up precious land and housing. And look, I know, I like to talk to them as well. Still, I feel like you're doing kind of a civic duty by talking to old people sometimes, because they don't have anyone else, and it makes me feel good, and it makes them feel good too. Am I doing it for selfish reasons? Yes, but is there a positive outcome? Yes. Would I rather listen to a cat scraping a chalkboard for an hour and a half? At this point, maybe. But it is necessary, because I guess, their kids don't talk to them anymore. And probably with good reason, if this is the way they were speaking to the poor fuckers, right? I don't know. I think priests and bishops and cardinals, they should start having secret kids again. Because that's better than the other secret stuff they were doing with kids. Making a secret kid is the least bad thing a Catholic could do. And I think it would just give them a lot more like drama and gossip in their life. Maybe because they all live together, maybe they could just have like a group secret held together. What's with the whole celibacy thing, right? I know Mary was a virgin. Maybe Jesus was. Unlikely. Or actually probably likely, because it would have been a big problem if Jesus had a kid, right? Big problem there, because that kid probably, like, because the children of good people always turn out to be like cunts for some reason. Like Marcus Aurelius, his son went insane. That's pretty much the only example. Any superhero ever, right? Unless the son is like adopted, like Dick Grayson, Great Robin, Damian Wayne, little fucking prick. So for some reason, the sons of great people, Batman, not a great person. For some reason, the sons of great people turn out to be assholes. Superman, his kid turned out to be a dickhead, I think. Depending on the version, right? None of these are real people. None of these examples hold true. Actors have kids, and then their kids become actors too, but unstable. Like Will Smith and his kid. Will Smith, morally kind of neutral. Anyway, if Jesus had a son, that would have been a problem, because then there'd be people out there in the following centuries claiming to have divine blood in their veins and things like that, and then that could have undone a lot of the early Christian theology. So good thing he didn't, actually. So we're going to assume he didn't, because that would have definitely happened if he had. And it would have happened. It would have happened if he had, but it might not have necessarily even been his son. But if it was known that Jesus had kids, then someone would claim to have Jesus's kid, and that could have been bad, right? So we're going to go ahead and assume he didn't, because that kind of thing happens all the time with like religious figures. Alexander the Great thought he was Zeus's kid, which is obviously insane because Zeus is a false god. So yeah. But yeah, like they had the conclave, and we got there in the end, and then we have a new pope, and he is an American man. And I think that's basically fine. What I like about it is now I'll understand what the Pope is saying. And what I don't like about that is now I'll understand what the Pope is saying. Because the Bible's already there. You know what I mean? Like, and I know the Bible's not like the Quran, where it's like, the Quran is the literal word of God in the Islamic theology. Where the Bible is more of a living, changing kind of thing. It's all about the Jesus and the words Jesus spoke and the living words of the man. But again, the man is dead, absent, without leave. I guess with leave. We did kill him. He's going to all of the other planets in the universe right now, sacrificing himself for them. They're all wondering why he looks like a human, because we were made in God's image, not these alien fucking scum. He's doing the rounds, getting us ready for the heat death of the universe, right? And he's not coming back anytime soon. So, where does that leave us, Worshipping the heir of Saint Peter, right? Terrible shame what happened to Saint Peter there, with the whole being crucified upside down thing. Saint Peter asked to be crucified upside down. I'm doing some material about that at the moment, but I want to think about it a little bit more here. Right, so like they say, so Emperor Nero, right? Emperor Nero was basically, he was the Emperor of Rome during the time that Jesus would have been alive. And no one basically thought he was a great guy. For many reasons. I don't want to get into them because I can't remember them, and I don't have enough historically accurate information off the top of my head to kind of delineate for you what his aims were. Let's kind of look up Emperor Nero here. That's a nice thing to do on the podcast, is just talk a little bit about one of the early Roman emperors. Again, Nero, not even a great name. Oh, this is the guy who looks like an incel. Yeah, Nero was the first incel. If I knew how to put up a picture on the screen now, I put up a picture of him. I'm not going to do that. Look him up. He has, let's just say, his beard covers this kind of area, which is not the area a beard is supposed to cover. If you're on the audio version, I'm touching not my face, but my chin and neck. And that's not where beards are supposed to be, right? So, born Lucius Domitius Abernetus. Nero, okay, was he the emperor when? Hang on, maybe he wasn't. Because he was born in 37 AD, and I think Jesus was supposed to be dead by then. So maybe I got this wrong. Oh no, but yeah, no, he would have been emperor because Saint Peter died after Jesus. So that's good. So yeah, he 54 AD to 68 AD. Let's see. All right, a bunch of stuff here. I'm just getting to the thing about the Great Fire of Rome. Yeah. So basically, he didn't handle that well. Rome caught on fire, and then I think he fucked all of that up pretty much. So there was that. Excuse me. It doesn't get to the whole Christian thing. Maybe because that there's no historical record of that. Or maybe there's other reasons. I don't know. Let's just type in who crucified Saint Peter, because maybe I just had this whole thing wrong. Who crucified? Oh, of course, Jesus comes up first. You know, like, hey, other people have been crucified, guys. Saint Peter. I'm pretty sure it was under the orders of Emperor Nero. Yeah, there it is, Emperor Nero. But yeah, he wasn't a great emperor. People did not like him. He kind of had Aerys Targaryen, but no, that was more Marcus Aurelius' son. How would you best describe Nero? His kind of whole aura was very much kind of resentful, incel-y. You know, he had that kind of energy about him. Bit incompetent, but more bitter, you know, bitter in his bones, right? That's kind of the impression I get in Nero, right? I would describe him like imagine if King Charles had power. You know what I mean? That's kind of the vibe I get from Nero, right? But worse, right? I guess a way to kind of look at him, like, is there a character in fiction I could compare him to? Probably. I'm not great with references, you know? A lot of comedians are good with references. I've never been good with references. And maybe that's okay. You know, like there's other styles of comedy. There's other ways to do things. You know, I don't have to be the guy who always comes up with the elite reference that gets everyone going. You know what I mean? And even in the back of my mind now, I'm still trying to think of like a good comparison for Emperor Nero, a good way to kind of communicate. Because a reference is a good way to communicate an idea, because it makes you understand things through a lens that they already are familiar with, some new information, right? But I'm not really able to do that. So, oops, maybe I should become a better communicator, or maybe I should just accept that some of my flaws are irreparable, and that I am an imperfect man in an imperfect world, and that there's nothing I can really do about that. Or maybe not. So yeah, that's something worth thinking about. But basically, Emperor Nero, right? He's kind of the let's say the scarecrow of Roman emperors, right? Not the worst one, not great. I feel like incel was kind of, we hit the nail on the head there with incel at the start. You know, he's like one of the Menendez brothers, right? He's not a great guy, is what I'm getting at. He crucified Saint Peter upside down. Now, why did he crucify him upside down? Who knows? I think one of the things that's weird about ancient people is they really like to make people die in very painful ways. And I think one of the reasons for that is because life was so shit already that if you just kill a guy, I think a lot of people at the time would have been like, that maybe is better than this, actually. And not everyone believes in Jesus yet, right? So a lot of people thought that when you died, you went to like Tartarus or like the fields of Elysium. But like, I think the whole Greek thing was a little bit more like Tartarus was only for people who were really bad, and then like the fields of Elysium were kind of like they're for good people. But then there was like a middle area for like middling people. I can't remember what it was called. So like dying was like kind of, you know, it was kind of whatever to them, you know. And those are, you know, who knows? Those are some Greek ideas that I might be, one, I'm not entirely conveying properly, and two, there is also the fact that the Romans when they adopted the religion probably changed some things. So what that means is that basically none of what I just said was true. Emperor Nero gives me kind of Ares vibes, you know, like resentful of his father kind of thing. Maybe not. I don't even know if Emperor Nero... you see, I don't know enough about Emperor Nero to make a good reference, and I don't have enough literary knowledge to make a good reference, or one that would kind of fit in with the modern times because I'm not really a big consumer of popular media either. So yeah, I'm still talking about that and still thinking about that, you know? Here we go. Emperor Nero is Micah. Micah from Red Dead 2, that's Emperor Nero all over it. You know what I mean? Just a little fucking shithead. Little snaky fucking cunt, you know? That's Emperor Nero. That's his whole vibe. No one's gonna have sex with him, but he acts like everyone will. You know what I mean? That's Emperor Nero's whole vibe. Boom, got it. Took ages. Not a very wide and broadly appealing reference. It's fine. I was trying to think of like a Marvel villain that he was like, because Marvel movies are really popular. But I haven't seen all of them. And a lot of the Marvel villains are actually kind of cool. Like, you know, none of them are really like jealous types. Loki is, I guess, but like not in the Nero-y kind of way. Let's see. Maybe the weird dude from Iron Man 3. You know, the Mandarin, but not the Mandarin, but not John Kingsley. You know that guy. What a movie. Bro, Iron Man 3. Imagine an Iron Man 3 reference. Remember Iron Man 3? Oh my god, that was crazy. What's so funny about Iron Man is he goes from like he goes through like a whole industrial revolution in 10 years and he doesn't share that technology with anyone. Like he comes up with an infinite clean energy source. He makes like these like suits and then doesn't give them to the government. Probably a good idea, right? But then after that, he comes like when in the first Iron Man or in the second Iron Man movie, he's like, in 10 years, other people have these suits. In 10 years they don't, but then in 10 years he has like space age technology, like not our space age, like Star Trek shit. Like he's got like suits that are like making themselves as he's wearing them, like giving him cannons and shit. And then still there's global warming, like still they're mining oil in the Marvel world. And he's just like, yeah, but this shit is mine actually. So I don't trust you guys with it, even though it would help pretty much everyone really immediately. And then there's a 5-year gap between that and the next movie, and then the technology hasn't improved at all in that. So that's interesting, right? Doesn't matter, you know. A lot of people pull up movies and things like that. It's like at the end of the day, none of it's real, and it looked cool. So what are we getting at here? So, well, the technological advancement rate is actually, one is too fast, but then two has a weird pacing. Sometimes it slows down. Sometimes it's like, who cares? It's Iron Man. He looks cool, you know. He can fight Thor even though he's wearing a suit made of metal. You know what I mean? Like he's just a guy, right? He's a smart dude, right? And because he gets beat up by Captain America. Then in the next movie, he just remote controls his suit so no one can beat him up because he's not in it. And in the next movie, he's like a god. Like his suit can his suit can fight the Infinity Glove Gauntlet. And then that's supposed to be able to change reality, and he's just fighting that. So I guess Captain America is stronger than, and he nearly beats that guy. Not really. He doesn't nearly beat that guy. He actually gets his ass whooped. But what I'm saying is Captain America gave him just as much of a rootin' tootin' as the purple guy, Thanos. And then this is weird that I'm even talking about any of this. So, Emperor Nero crucified Jesus Christ no, not Jesus Christ. Saint Peter, who at the time was just Peter, who before that, I think his name was Paul. Or Simon, sorry. His name was Simon before that. Saint Peter, his real name was Simon. Jesus called him Peter. That means rock in Latin or Hebrew or something. Can't remember. I should relearn all of this to educate myself if I'm going to be talking about these kind of things. And he crucified him upside down because Christianity was illegal, right? And then people say that the reason he crucified upside down was because St. Peter asked to be crucified upside down, because he was saying that, well, you know, if I get crucified the right way up, people will compare me to Jesus, and I'm not as good as Jesus because I knew Jesus and Jesus was that guy, and I'm not that guy. So don't crucify me the same way you did Jesus. Now, the problem with that is I feel like Emperor Nero would hear that and go, oh, he doesn't want to be crucified the right way up? Definitely do it that way then. Or maybe there is also the possibility he was like upside down sounds like it hurts more. So yeah, sure, why not, right? Problem with that is I feel like the whole thing with crucifixion is like the arms support a lot of the weight of it, you know? So if you're doing it upside down, like I feel like the legs are just going to fall over. But I guess they could just nail the legs to the board. I think they nailed Jesus' legs to the board, which is weird because like he's already hanging there. Like there's already nailing in his two arms and his chest, you know? It's like I think he's dead. I mean, to be fair, you know, he came back, so you know the overkill probably was justified. Actually, when I was younger, I thought, you see, because what's so weird about Jesus is death and resurrection, right? And it wasn't taught to me correctly. The information wasn't conveyed to me in an effective manner. But what I thought when I found out about Jesus' resurrection is I thought like maybe the resurrection happened like, okay, so he died at like 35, right? I thought maybe the resurrection happened when he was like 24 to 26, that kind of time. Like, and I thought the crucifixion was when he was 35. Like, I thought the crucifixion was the second time he died. So in my mind, what was going on, right, is he turns water into wine. Some people think that's great. Some people think it's really weird. Then he does the thing with the fish and the bread. Some people think that's really great. Other people are just like, witch. And, you know, then people are just like, Jewish witch, fuck him. You know, and eventually they're just like, the Romans are just like, you know what, fuck it, let's get rid of this guy. He's causing problems. You know, they kill him. He comes back to life. They kill him in some unknown way. I don't know how they killed him when they killed him in this way, but someone kills him, right? In my mind, that's what happens. He comes back to life, and then because he came back to life, they're just like, oh, fuck, well, killing him obviously doesn't work. He lives another 10 years, and also they're not really, you know, it was the past. They didn't have cameras, they didn't have tracking, they didn't have DNA. They weren't going to find him again, you know what I mean? So he lives another 10 years, spreads the good word of the Lord, and then they kill him again, and then this time he doesn't come back, right? And one of the reasons that made sense to me is because in the Bible, what happens is he dies, he, after 35 years, comes back, and then 40 days later, he dies again. 40 days. Not even 2 months later, he died. He resurrected to live for 40 days. And in that 40 days, does he do something really important? No. He just walks around. He's like, hey, I came back from the dead. And everyone's like, oh my God, Jesus. Jesus came back from the dead. Oh my God, it's Jesus Christ. And then, I don't believe that Jesus Christ. There's no way that's Jesus Christ. This is a lie. Oh, there he is. Oh my God, look. I'm going to put my hand. Oh my God, look, there's something on his chest and on his arm. Oh my God, I'm going to put my hand. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. Oh my God, he really is back. Oh my God. And then he just did a bunch of that. He did that to 500 people. And then you're just like, right, well, now that you guys know I can come back from the dead, bye. You know? I guess he kind of like was like telling the disciples what to do, right? I guess, right? He was like, be like, hey, tell everyone I came back. But like, that's kind of, you know what I mean? Like imagine if Thor got the bigger hammer, and then when he got to, you know, like when he got the new big hammer, and then he was just like, but he was just the same. You know, he was like, yeah, I just have a big hammer now. Oh wait, that's what happened. No, he was actually much stronger, right? It's weird that because at the end of imagine if at the end of the Thor movie, imagine if after the end of Thor 3, when he loses the hammer and he realizes, hang on, I don't need the hammer. I am special on my own. Imagine if then he just got a new hammer. Oh wait, that's what happened. You know, what was the point in coming back if all you were going to use it was to be like, oh, hey, I came back? Isn't that weird? Yeah. Anyway, bye again. Like, you didn't come back to defeat some great evil, unless you count the sins of all mankind. You just came back to kind of for vibes. You know what I mean? Like, that's so crazy to me. Like, imagine Obama ran for a third term and then won, and then he was like, well, I just wanted to see if I could do that, so I'm going to resign now. You know what I mean? Like, what was the point? All right. I thought I would have more funny comparisons for that, but again, I'm not really a big guy on the references, you know? Like, I feel like there's a lot you can do with that, actually. I'm just not doing it. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if after Spider-Man tore off the symbiote, he just was like, oh, fuck. Oh, thank God I got rid of the symbiote. Well, I'm going to get another one. It'll be white this time. That happened. Yeah, so there's that. None of that was very interesting, and that's fine too. So yeah, but yeah, Saint Peter got resurrected upside down. He got crucified upside down. Maybe they thought doing it upside down. Maybe they thought doing it the right way up lets people resurrect, so they started doing it upside down after that. Or maybe they just fucked up the cross in the ground and they got embarrassed, right? But the whole thing, right, is St. Peter got crucified upside down so that people wouldn't compare him to Jesus. Humble move, right? And people admired that, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, Peter, you're not going to come back. So there's no comparison to Jesus because you're going to die like a brick, right? You know what I mean? Hang on. Let's lock in here. What else? Right? But yeah, what's the deal with St. Peter, right? Yeah, no, I think that was all the steam I had on that topic, to be honest with you guys. I don't know. I'm a big man for, I'm a big man for a like a side quest, That's what I like doing. I like side questing. You know what I mean? I actually lost all my steam. Wow. I did I did a good thing the other day. For you, buddy. For the Lord. Because now if I do one, then it covers up it covers up all the bad I've done over the years. It makes me feel like, hey, actually maybe I am a good person secretly, even after all my moral crimes, right? So I did a good thing the other day. But also, I only did it because it was like a side quest, right? And I'm a big man for a side quest. I love, especially at work, because I got my job at work. I got to do what I got to do. But, if anyone has anything intriguing, I'm just like, well, fuck what I'm doing. Let's go do that. And not not stuff that's just fun, but stuff that needs to get done. You know what I mean? It's like, well, we lost the straws. I wonder if there's any straws in the hotel. Well, let's look around the entire building now, me and you. How about we do that? Because we need the straws. We gotta have the straws, And I love a side quest because you get to meet so many people, in real life as well. You know what I mean? I was just I was at a oh my god, this was so embarrassing, right? I was at a gig the other night, and we were going into the room where the comedy show was on, and on the way into the room, there's like this like junction where it was like by the doors to the women's bathroom, and there was a woman trying to get out of the bathroom, and my friend of mine walked in front of the woman, got in the way. I, being me, gentleman, let the woman pass through, started talking to her, and then I started talking to this woman. I forgot about the show, right? I was just like, oh God, I'm just gonna go talk to this pretty girl, Not really a side quest, more of like just I guess the main quest of life is to reproduce. So definitely important to that. But that wasn't my main quest at that moment. So the analogy tracks, right? I'll tell you about another side quest in a minute. And then so I started talking to the girl, very pretty, and her friend was there too. And when you start a conversation with two people, obviously, when you're trying to have sex with one of them, what you do is you focus in. So you're polite and nice to the friend enough for them to know that you're a good guy, but then you draw your focus towards the object of your ire. Yeah, I liked that word. Yeah, I think I'm going to use that word more often. The object of my ire. You lock in on her a little bit. You kind of slowly, not quickly, slowly but surely, you minimize interactions with the friend. So let's say you want to go like 50-50, right? After about 5 minutes, you want to just go like 55-45, just a little bit, A couple minutes later, you're going to do a bigger talk. You're going to go 65-35, right? And then like, depending on how smoothly that goes, you're like, all right, the third party is starting to kind of get the hint that I'm making moves here. You bump it up to 70-30, and you keep it at 70-30 for the foreseeable future, right? Because, at the end of the day, you want them to feel comfortable. You don't want to bump the friend out completely, right? But it gets to the point where it's kind of like an 85-25, nope. Is that like a 75-25 situation, right? It's like most of my attention in this conversation is directed towards the woman who I want to have sex with. And then I realized like, oh shit, there's the show going on upstairs in this bar, because that's where shows happen. I can't continue talking to these young ladies. I have to go do that. And then I was like, hey, here's a... And you learn a bit about people. And I was like, hey, here's an interesting question. But you don't have to say yes or anything. But I thought you were really cute, right? And do you think I could get your Instagram or something, and give you a call? And she said no. But here's what's interesting, right? She didn't say no, but that's what she meant. What she said was, I'm sorry, but I have a girlfriend. And I was like, plot twist. Which is a big shutdown. Because, if she said she had a boyfriend, I could have been like, he ain't here. I wouldn't, obviously. I'm a coward. And, I wouldn't want anyone to do that to me. So I wouldn't do it to someone else, I guess. She said she has a girlfriend. And then the girl who I've been slowly trying to ignore more and more for the past 10 to 15 minutes, she turns to me and she says, hi, I'm her girlfriend. Looked angry. I'm looking angry right now at the camera. Not really. It's not really coming off that way. There's a trick an actor taught me. It's if you wanna look angry, you look up with your head first and then up with your eyes. Yeah, now there we go. That's more menacing, right? She looked angry, and then I was like, oh, and luckily the friend said that and looked so angry, because I knew that then it was true, and then I was like, oh, it wasn't just because it was creepy. She actually does have a girlfriend and she is gay. Probably bi. One of those ones. And and her friend looked really, really upset. But, then I just like play it off as a joke and I keep having the conversation. And me and this girl who I now know is in a relationship with a woman, we're still getting along very well and we're still having a bit of a laugh. But now her friend, the girlfriend, looks really upset and it's starting to make me really uncomfortable. But then, a little bit of a bad person here, then the girl I'm talking to starts to get upset that her girlfriend is upset because at this point she's kind of decided, oh, like this guy just, he's a sweet guy, he was shooting his shot, but he still, is willing to interact with us as human beings. You know what I mean? And then, but her girlfriend, her partner, was getting defensive, which fair enough because right, and that's kind of on me because if it was a more of a traditional, a heteronormative relationship. And I was talking to a girl for like 15 minutes and her boyfriend was there and I was slowly starting to ignore him, I would feel like a villain, right? I mean, I wouldn't do it, first of all, because I'm not insane. I don't want to get the shit kicked out of me. But like, upon the discovery, I would feel like a villain for having done it. And I would quickly remove myself from the situation, mainly due to fear of physical violence, right? But in this other situation, despite the fact that I have shown an interest in this woman's girlfriend, I am continuing to speak to her despite the fact that the relationship boundary has been set, which is a bit, maybe, on my side, I hadn't really considered it up to this point, but a bit, not homophobic, but a bit, a bit prejudiced, because I sort of, in a way, and I don't think, I mean, like, this is like the worst way to look at what I did, right? This is like the worst version of me possible to consider in this situation. Is what I did was I was, maybe dismissive of the relationship because it was of a homosexual nature, right? But I think what maybe I actually did was that upon realizing that she was a gay, the possibility of, a further development was now not only unwanted, but impossible, which meant that in my mind, I could now categorize this woman as just broski, and I think what I did was I made that switch too quickly and too effectively, to where it kind of upset the girlfriend, because the girlfriend had now established that they were in a relationship, and yet I was still talking. But the girl I was talking to seemed pretty chill with the whole thing, and then they started like getting a bit kind of tense with each other, and then basically at the point of maximal tension, I was like, oh, I should remove myself from the situation. So what I did was I went on this big side quest and I caused a fight between two strangers, and then I abandoned the situation and I have no idea what happened. And that's why I love side questing, because now I've had a significant effect on those two people's lives, unintentionally. In an ideal world, it would have been a good one. It was a bad one. They definitely got into a fight, and they're both women. So that's never getting resolved. No. I'm not homophobic, but I am sexist. No. I'm not. No. How many times do I have to say no before I definitely am? But then again, before I'm actually not. I'm just a bit overly apologetic and nervous, right? But yeah, so that's an interesting. But then sometimes you've like pleasant side quests. Like I remember this one time I was at a gig. I went downstairs to the bar just to get myself a water. This woman stopped me. Quite a strong looking woman, quite good shoulders, right? And I was like, oh, she must be an athlete of some sort. And she was like, hey, I'm I just started chit chatting next to her while I was waiting for my drink. Like joking about like I think I was like making some joke about the fact that they didn't do cocktails, even though it was just like a very traditional Irish like pub setting. And she was like, hey, I'm gonna bring these drinks to the table. Will you watch these ones while I bring the drinks to the table? And I was like, hey, you know what? I'll just carry them to your table because I can do that. And then she was like, well, that's really kind of you. And I brought the drinks to the table, and then I turned around to walk away, and she was like, hey, join us. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll join you. And then I joined them, and actually they were the Irish rowing team. And the woman I was talking to was very attractive, but I was also intimidated by her physical strength. So then my kind of objective became more of just to find out. And then actually immediately I was introduced to the gossip of the Olympic politics, and that became very interesting to me. And because I was very much sexually intimidated by the one who had invited me over, as well as all of them, because they were very strong, I just more had like a platonic kind of conversation with them all. And I think maybe the girl who I was talking to was a little bit mad about that. But I was, I was not man enough for her. And I think within, let's say 20 to 25 minutes, she had very much realized that. But then we just had a good time in like a normal sense. So, that was another little side quest. And then I got to find out all this gossip about the Irish rowing team. So, getting sidetracked in life, it's like it builds out the world. It is exactly like a video game. It builds out the world. It makes you feel more involved in things. It makes you feel like you've had an effect, It makes you feel like you've left your mark here on this world before you move on to the next one that probably doesn't exist. So that was, that's all very interesting. So yeah, I did the side quests like that, and yeah, I think maybe I'm gonna end it there. So I think, well, look, that was a good episode. I'm kind of trying to put less time pressure on these episodes. Like before, I wanted them to always be an hour long, right? And I realized, quality is more important than quantity. And if I don't feel like I have the steam to talk for an hour, there's no point in trying to do that. So this episode is going to be shorter, and that's, I think, okay, actually. Short but sweet. So that was all very interesting. And not, maybe not really, but to me, it helped me get something said. And I've also been having ideas about, where I want to go with this podcast. And I think, because I know what I want to get out of it in the long term, but in the short term, I didn't know what I wanted to get out of it. And I felt like I was, not felt like I was, but I was thinking about the fact that this is something I had to do rather than, and there's more of an emphasis on that than something I wanted to do by the time, because it is a certain level of responsibility to do this, and it does take time out of the week that I have to schedule in, and I'm really bad at that. And I was like, well, is it even what I really want to be doing? And then I thought about like reasons of why it would be a thing I want to be doing. And then I thought about, well, what am I going to get out of it every week? What joy will it bring to my life to sit down and talk for an hour every week? And I think I've kind of worked some of that out. So I think that kind of spirit and that energy will come into the podcast more and more in the coming weeks. And I think that'll be good for me and for you and for everyone else involved. So, all that being said, thank you all, and God bless, and hey, take care, and I hope you guys enjoy your week, or however long it takes me to do the next one of these, right? Because God knows it takes a while. All right, bye bye.